Welcome back to the On the Down Lowe podcast, nighttime edition or evening edition. It's about 7:30 right now, so the sun is about to go down, and that's crucial for this episode because I just posted on Facebook that I was recording a new episode tonight, and the key word was tonight because we're reading scary stories, and at the end of this episode, we're going to be watching some scary TikToks. Because that's where this idea came from. I mean, granted, I love scary stories and anything to do with learning about things that don't quite make sense or just conspiracy theories. That's always been something that I loved. But I, not gonna sugarcoat it, have had a long couple of weeks since the last time I recorded an episode. I was in the middle of finals. The finals are done. Everything went swimmingly. Now I'm back with my internship, and in the midst of that, I was also sick. So if I sound a little more nasally than normal, that's why. So bear with me. My voice is probably going to be croaking by the end of this. And I do need to mention, because there was something funny that happened yesterday, because this is my second time recording this. I had my first run through of this yesterday, and I was like, you know what? I'm just not happy with it. I just wasn't. It wasn't something that I wanted to upload because I wasn't personally happy with it. It looked like I was forcing myself to record, and I just wasn't in the mindset to record, and I forced myself to, and that was very easy to see after watching the video back. So I can't. I decided to scrap that, but there is something funny that happened in that first take that I want to put in right now. Not sure if he was waiting for the right time again. I'm gonna say it. So I mean, I'm already terrified because I'm reading this. There was a Dollar General bag that just floated by my window. In like, it was. I just saw it out of the corner of my eye, but I thought it was a person. It was a Dollar General bag. I cannot wait to go back and rewatch this and see how much that made me jump. I just think it's so funny that I'm reading a story about, in that clip, I'm reading a story about like a girl that thinks she's been followed by a demon her whole life. You know, absolutely terrifying. And I get scared by a Dollar General bag. But this time, some of the stories I read yesterday were off of Reddit. And, you know, Reddit's good for some things, but well thought out, well organized, concise stories is not always one of them. And all the ones I read yesterday were just kind of mishmashed. They weren't that good, and they didn't really have any bite to them. Now, to keep the suspense going, I have not read any of the ones that I'm going to read today. There are four of them, and they're sitting right in front of my face on my iPad, that are from a little more reliable of sources, from storytelling sources that are true. These are all true stories. So, like I mentioned, this episode is something. I mean, I love scary stories, but I needed to do this. I needed to not think about for like 2 weeks beforehand what I'm gonna do in a podcast. This is something that's easy, requires absolutely no brain power for me, you know, besides being able to read and apparently get scared by plastic bags. But this is something that I think we can all just sit back, grab some popcorn. Hopefully, you're not home alone whenever you're watching this, because some of these are about home alone slash stalker stories, which terrify me. And that was the first motivation to do this, because I would say about a week ago, like last Saturday, I was laying in bed trying to fall asleep, and I was on TikTok like most people find themselves doing now, and I saw a string of stories that were some of the most terrifying stories I had ever read. They were anything to do with paranormal encounters, Home Alone, stalker, home invasion stories, just some really creepy stuff. And it was like midnight when I read it, rather than just falling asleep, I was scaring myself. Okay, let's stop horsing around and let's get into the scary stories. Okay, like I said, I found all of these from a little more reputable of storytelling sources that are a lot more literate and well put together than I found on Reddit yesterday. My scariest Home Alone stories happened during one of the first times I was left alone as a teenager. I was left home alone on a random Sunday when my parents brought my brother to some event. I was loving the freedom and everything was going great until I decided to leave my house to see my friend. My parents specifically told me not to leave the house, and I did anyways. Not thinking See, that's where it went wrong. You would be the first to die in a horror movie. Not thinking in the moment, I left my house and completely forgot to lock the door. Ooh. I came home hours later and had a terrible gut feeling. That's another thing. I am 21. I'm a 21-year-old woman, and I hate being home alone. It's just, it doesn't matter how secure the house is, the fact that I know there's no one in the house that shouldn't be in the house, I still hate and cannot calm down and relax whenever I'm home alone. Maybe there is someone living in the attic and we just don't know. Maybe that's why. But gut feelings. If you ever feel that somebody's like, that's not right, your intuition is telling you loud enough and you shouldn't have to ask again for it to explain itself. It told you the first time, you understood the first time, you just didn't want to believe it the first time. Okay, anyways, back to the story. I had a terrible gut feeling. Something felt weird and I noticed that the cabinets were left open and stuff was scrambled around the house. I began to become very startled, but I didn't completely believe that someone was there because it was so quiet. I started shouting through the house to see if anyone was there. There was no answer. Duh. I think that's like a Family Guy skit. It's like, is anyone in my house? Oh, you got me, Oh, you're good at this one. The intruder's not going to come out and... Anyways, I started to feel a little better until my phone started ringing. I looked down and it was an unknown ID. Looking for attention, I answered the phone and I heard deep and heavy breathing. I started to get extremely scared. It felt straight up out of a movie. I kept asking, "Who is this?" repeatedly, until the phone hung up. 2 minutes later, I got another call and answered to the deep breathing. It sounded like an angry voice, and I started to become impatient that they weren't saying anything. They hung up again, and I got aggravated. I got another call from an unknown ID, and the heavy breathing started again. Out of nowhere, I heard a deep and quiet voice whisper, "I'm in the house." My heart stopped and chills ran down my spine. I've never been so scared in my life, but I acted tough thinking it was a prank call from my friend or brother, knowing I was home alone. The caller hung up this time and I started hearing creaking from upstairs and suddenly heard loud footsteps. Luckily, I heard something drop before he started sprinting down the stairs. I was able to get a head start on the intruder and I disappeared into the woods and immediately called the cops. The cops reported and found the door left wide open. They never found the person that snuck in, but I'm lucky to be able to share that wild story. If I just imagine with me for a second, if you will, you come back to your house and you see cabinets left open. Now, unless you're living on opposite day 24/7, you don't typically leave cabinet doors open. I don't care how much of an unaware, like, teenage boy you are, you don't see something like open cabinet doors and just go, yeah, that's normal. Like, no one else is supposed to be here. That's fine, though. That makes no sense. All of the alarm bells in your head should have been going off. Maybe that's just, of course, hindsight is 2020, and I'm sure he probably is thinking that now. And it's easy for me to say that as a reader of his story. But that's, oh, it's like, I think it's the idea of it being such a close call, and someone was indeed in the house and was literally at the end of the story about to pounce on this teenager. So I have two of each. So I have two Home Alone slash intruder slash stalker stories, and then I have two paranormal stories. I feel like that was probably a good split. Then that'll leave us with some time at the end. Okay, here's the second one. This one's a little lengthy. Found this one on the same website. This happened to me during my first year of university in October. I was living in the dorms, and I need to give you a brief rundown of the dorms. You need key card access to your specific floor. So even though someone on the third floor and the fourth floor live in the same building, they can't access each other's floors. Makes sense. I had injured myself playing sports, so I was under orders to, quote, rest, which meant no Halloween parties for me. Pretty sad for a horror fiend like myself. But to try and make the time a happy one, I busied myself helping to make costumes for people and doing their makeup. Once I was finally finished, I packed up my makeup and decided to watch some movies in my room. A guy popped up and introduced himself. We chatted for a bit and exchanged email addresses, and I walked back to my room and said goodnight. The first warning sign was that he walked into my room behind me, despite me saying that I was going to walk into my room. I felt really awkward and tried to say in a roundabout way that he needed to leave, but he wasn't getting the hint. I finally said, "You need to leave my room now." So, there's a multitude of terrifying college stories. This isn't good for me to be reading. Still have another year in college. This is going to be just what I think of anytime I'm in like a dorm hall. I chalk this up to him maybe being drunk or something, but I did wonder how I got how ooh, but I did wonder how he got onto my floor if he wasn't with someone else that was partying. Girl, deadbolt your door and get one of those little safety arms that you prop up on the floor. You literally brace it on the floor and then it hooks under the knob of the door. So even if someone does break the lock, they literally can't wedge it open. Go Google those if you don't know what I'm talking about. College is a scary place. No matter how safe or private of a university it is. Before I went to bed that night, I checked my email and there were 5 emails from the creep. You know it's bad if you've known someone for literally a night and they have coined themselves with the nickname of the creep. The first being, "Hey, so glad that we're friends." What? And the rest asking why I wasn't online. A few days later, I got a knock on my door when I was studying, and it was him. I explained that I was studying and needed privacy. He tried to walk into my room again, but I braced my arm on the frame and said firmly that I needed to study. The next day, he was at my door again, and the next. I began to pretend that I was not home. Another day, there was a knock at the door. And when I checked the people, there was no one there, and I assumed the postman had come. I opened the door, and lo and behold, it was the creepy guy. He had began hiding from the peephole so I would be more likely to answer the door. What? This is why, there I am such a firm believer that the there should be more security on college dorm halls besides just the RA, besides the other college kid that had like a week of training that's responsible for keeping everyone safe. There needs to actually be university police officers or security or someone with some kind of credentials that actually make rounds of the halls, not just RAs who are peers. I told my roommate never to open the door if he was there, and I told the people living on my hall that this guy was beginning to creep me out. So if he wanted to get on the floor, whatever sob story he gave them, don't let him on. A few days after that, I was on the bus coming home and I got a text from someone who lived on my floor telling me not to come home because Creep was on my floor and was sitting in front of my door just waiting. I went to a friend's house and spent the night, and when I got home, I was told he waited for 4 hours before leaving. At this point, I was getting freaked out. A few days after that, he began waiting outside the building, and if I left, he would follow me wherever I went. I was too spineless to tell him to go away, and I tried to be more passive about it. I never spoke and never gave any indication that I was paying attention, but he followed me to class, the cafeteria, and always tried to follow me home and get access to the floor. I went to the resident advisor, an older student that sort of watches over the floor, aka an RA, what I was talking about earlier, and told her what happened. She spoke to the RA on his floor and said that he was a creep and had been telling his own RA that they were best friends and dating. Are you kidding me? My RA tried to explain that I was uncomfortable, but the other RA believed him, and that was that. Thankfully, one thing did deter him. He would never approach me if I was with a group of people. So my floor mates banded together if I went to dinner, and I went with my floor, and if I went for drinks or seconds, someone had to come with me. Walking to class or even waiting for the bus was done in a group. He got onto my floor once when someone else was coming home, and he forced his foot in the door to let himself in. I was, quote, hidden in another room, and when he left my door to go and sit in the television lounge to wait for me, I went downstairs and ran around to the other side of the building and got into my room before he noticed. Then the phone calls began. I never gave him my number, but he somehow obtained my mobile and room phone, and it would be 1 to 2 calls a day until I told him I wanted him to leave me alone. Then the calls began coming every hour with him begging and pleading for me to talk to him. Without caller ID, I needed to answer the phone because of the school and my part-time job. At this point in time, it was November and I was a wreck. I was tired of having to plan out doing simple things like going for food or walking to the bus stop. Stress wasn't helping me recover from my injury and I was losing weight and I just looked sickly. I went back to the RA and begged her for help. She went to the head of the dorms and explained everything that happened. I explained how far this had gone, and my roommate told them that he had followed her multiple times, demanding that she tell him where I was. So now the roommate is being followed. They knew each other for, so that makes you wonder how long he was watching her before they started the email communications. I felt awful. She never told me this because she was afraid of upsetting me further, and I felt like I was a butthole for putting her through this garbage. I don't know what went on behind closed doors. From what I guess, he was told to leave me alone, and any further contact would result in him being kicked out of the dorms. There was one email where he went insane on me, telling me how awful I was. How could I do this to him? We were so happy together. Surely I was cheating on him with other men. After that, nothing. At first, when I'd see him around campus, I would run to the women's toilets to hide. I'd see him around town or on campus, and he'd always just stare at me. Never tried to approach me, never tried to get my attention, just staring. I used to walk by and try to pretend I didn't notice him, and I'd try and act like my heart wasn't pounding. That's like, I'm a rising senior in college now. That's like, but that is terrifying. That's got to be like top 3 biggest fear of going or moving out or just doing anything. But that is something that I've always feared, is being followed or potentially harmed by someone like that. Scary, scary stuff. And those really get under my skin because they're real. Like, there's no disputing it. That's tangible evidence. Uh, these are real people. Okay, now on to the paranormal ones. I could go forever about the Home Alone and the Stalker ones, but I need to condense it a little bit. I don't want to keep you here for 2 hours, and I don't want to sit here and talk or read for 2 hours. So if you don't know, the first one we're going to talk about is about an urban legend. Stick with me, called skinwalkers. And if you've never heard of skinwalkers originate from Native American folklore. They are mainly, if you're going to stick a region to them in America, is Western America, Arizona, New Mexico area, mainly to do with the Navajo Indian tribes. So skinwalkers are witches, Indian witches, and just not always evil spirits. I think a majority of them are, um, that take form of humans, most of the time animals, to mimic other people to try and get into their homes, to get into their personal beings and their spiritual, control them spiritually. So there's some really terrifying stories that have to do with skinwalkers. So I just want to share a couple, or one actually. I think the other one is strictly paranormal, not anything to do with like a woodland creature. But this one I read the first couple of lines of, and it looked like it was being set up for a pretty good story. So it's a little lengthy, but here we go. My father owns a small delivery service that operates out of Farmington, New Mexico. We mostly deliver small packages out to the middle of nowhere that are too much of a hassle for larger delivery companies to bother with. My dad is the only employee, and we have a few pickup trucks and a trailer. One day we got a delivery to Window Rock, Arizona on the Navajo reservation. See? About 2 hours from Farmington. My dad gets a call for the job while he is chilling in his Navajo friend with his Navajo friend Travis and his girlfriend. He's chilling with his Navajo friend. Travis mentions now he's got a family in Window Rock that he hasn't seen in ages and suggests they go with him. I was about 6 or 7 at the time, and this was in the summertime, so Dad decided we'll go down together. He can do his delivery really quick, then while Travis sees his family, we can go check out Window Rock. We had to convoy in separate trucks since my dad's was loaded down with the freight. We decided to bring along some talkie-talkies? Some walkie-talkies? That's definitely a typo. Some walkie-talkies so we could communicate with one another. We'd spend our time in Window Rock. Everything is generally uneventful. We start heading home along Old Highway with my dad and I in front, and Travis and his girlfriend in the truck behind us. I honestly don't remember most of Window Rock trip, but this next part I can never forget. Told you I thought the story was going to be good. We're somewhere on the highway between Window Rock and Gallup, New Mexico. It had just rained earlier that day and the road was still kind of slick, so we were taking it pretty slow. On the left side of the highway, there is nothing but sandstone cliffs, and on the right, there is a huge field separated from the road by a small barbed wire fence. We crest the top of the hill, and at the bottom of this hill, we see what appears to be a very large dog sitting on its back haunches in the middle of the road facing the cliffs. My dad calls over the radio, "Hey, Trav, do you see this big ass dog?" Travis yelling back over the radio, "That's not a dog. Speed up right now and hit it." He sounds almost hysterical. He just keeps screaming, "Hit it. You have to hit it. Please, please hit it right now." And this is the Navajo native that's saying this. You should probably listen to what he's saying. It's like I don't know how much anybody knows about the Appalachian mountain ranges and, just all through the stretches of Midwestern to Northeastern America, but there's like 3 rules you're supposed to follow from Appalachian natives. Is once the sun goes down, you don't look outside. You don't look outside. If you hear something or hear whistling or whispering outside your house and the sun has gone down, no, you don't respond to it. Don't open your doors, don't look outside, don't do anything. And if you are out past the sun being down, you're probably doing something you're not supposed to be doing. So my dad starts to speed up, and as we get a little bit closer, I begin to see it a little more clearly. It's covered in this brown, wiry, matted hair that appears to have dried blood all over it. It's still facing the cliffs, but the moment our headlights hit it, it turns and looks at us, and it has a face. I'm assuming a human face. Or maybe I could just be a little more patient and wait until the next line, because it literally says, I don't know how else to describe it other than a mix between a bear and a human's face. You know, I was that kid in kindergarten in like first grade. The teacher would be reading something, but I would raise my hand to ask a question, and that question would literally be answered in the half sentence after. So maybe I should just learn to be a little more patient. It looks twisted and distorted and almost in pain. As we get closer to this thing, we start to see and realize that it's actually huge. Though it was still sitting on its haunches, it is about shoulder height with the hood of the truck. We get literally inches from hitting it whenever it lets out the scream that sounds like someone screaming as their lungs were filled with water, and it leaps backwards towards the field, landing just on the side of the barbed wire fence. Then, with another leap, it is gone from sight. Travis calls from over the radio again, just keep driving. We have to get out of here. We have to go faster. Then he kept repeating that last part. We have to get out of here and we have to go faster. Pretty soon we are speeding like crazy, and just as we start to come over the outskirts of Gallup, we get pulled over. Travis pulls his truck over with us. Naturally, this makes the cop, a Navajo man himself, very on edge, and he immediately asks why Travis felt the need to pull over as well. Travis says, we just saw a skinwalker a few miles back, and it's been following us. The officer immediately turns white, stammers something about a verbal warning, gets in his car, and takes off, and we do the same. See what I'm saying? You don't. If a native of or a local is what I meant. If someone from a local area that has a lot of scary things happening tells you to do something, you should probably listen to them. If you ever, for some reason, find yourself in Gallup, New Mexico, and you see a bear dog that's 8 feet tall, just keep going. We didn't see anything else that night. But when we got home, Travis refused to let us leave without taking some kind of Navajo totem thing that was supposed to keep it away. That's the end of that story. That's crazy. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Conjuring movies or anything to do with Ed and Lorraine Warren, but speaking of Ed and Lorraine Warren, because this just reminded me of it, did y'all know that the Annabelle doll is lost? Just they transported it, which the Warrens literally said, "Do not ever move this doll." Why would you transport this doll where it was safe and not messing with anybody and not disappearing? Why would you move it to like a museum? Why would you do that? And guess what? Now we're all paying the price. The doll is freaking missing. What do you mean this doll that is the most demonically possessed items, tangible items on this earth is gone? What are you talking about? What do you mean? Like, we're all in danger if that's true. I've never read the Warren Files. I want to, but there's some, I mean, I know they're kind of controversial, but I still want to dive into that for myself. All right, we got one more story. Then I want to watch some scary TikToks. And the sun is like down now, so perfect timing. One night while at my grandparents' house, my grandmother comes into my room at 3:30 a.m. That's another thing. I want a little side note and then we'll get back to it. 3 a.m. is known to be the quote witching hour. That's when a lot of ghost hunters, a lot of people that are into parapsychology will do most of their communication with spirits, because that is said to be the time of the day when the veil between spiritual life and physical human life is the thinnest. So communication can be made pretty easy. Okay, back to the story. Your grandfather needs help. Get up. This is the grandmother saying this to a child. I don't know. This startles me because she never does anything like this, but I still go out to my grandfather, who was sitting right outside the door leading to the garage. The garage door just went up and down 6 or 7 times. We need to check it out, he says. We head into the garage and find the string prevents the door from opening is being pulled out, something that can only be done from inside. He looks at me and says, "We have to go outside to fix it so no one can get in." Okay, I'm following now. We then head outside. When we round the corner to look at the garage, the motion lights activate and illuminate scratches on the door. He and I fix the door and go back to bed. About 2 weeks after this, I'm staying there again, wake up around 2:30 to hearing stomping in the kitchen, which is very close to my room. I get up and hear the stomps coming closer to my door and stop. I figure that my grandfather was just adjusting the thermostat, but I open my door to see what's going on. I find that everyone in the house is asleep and all lights are off. Needless to say, I slept poorly that night. A few weeks pass and I go over there on a weekend, staying up rather late and falling asleep, watching TV on my bed, and my door opened wide. It was about 1:30 a.m., and again, I wake up without any reason. I look around and realize that I fell asleep with the TV on. I look at my door, and at that instant, I see a man-sized figure step out of my doorway and walk down the hall towards the kitchen. I slam the door and stay up all night. By this time, I am convinced a demon or ghost or something inhabits my grandparents' house. But I am relieved that whatever is in their house wasn't following me. Maybe a month after that incident happened, I am at my dad's house about to go to sleep. At my dad's, my room lies on the other side of the house away from everybody. At 10:30 p.m., I lay down, turn my TV off, and prepare to sleep. Just then, outside my door, I hear a combination of stomping and a loud sound. This honestly scares the hell out of me. I, in all of my infinite wisdom, decide to see what it is. When I open the door, I see the same thing I observed at my grandparents' house. I tear up from fear, leave the light on, and fitfully attempt to sleep. It doesn't work well. Maybe a month and a half passes after that incident. I am now at a friend's house. He and I clean out his shed to hang out in there and smoke his hookah. Hookah? Hookah. Not hookahs. Not the running shoe, Emily. Hookah. While he usually hosts many people at his house, tonight it is just him and me, smoking and listening to music. In the middle of a song, all of a sudden, a black flash darts under my legs, but I feel nothing. Start to look around and see if one of his cats came in with us. As I look around, I realize that there is no cat in the shed. I start to become afraid, but try to keep myself outwardly calm. I look at my friend, who appears to be close to panic. All he says to me is, "I think something just ran underneath your legs." At this point, I freak out because though I didn't say anything about it, he also saw it as well. We ran out of the shed and into his house watching TV until we calm down and fall asleep. I am so happy. Thank you, Lord, that has never happened to me. And I hope it never does. I hope none of you have ever had a scary experience like that. I am so blessed to not have any scary paranormal things like that happen. Well, with that, the stories are over, but I want to end this with watching a couple of TikToks that I watched the first few seconds of, and we'll see what other good ones we can find. TikTok is good at having some real spooky things on it. Every once in a while. My algorithm is just, I don't really know what's going on with my algorithm half the time, but there are some pretty scary things that I've come across, and I want to share those. Sorry, if you don't like being scared, then you probably shouldn't be listening to this. If you're at this point, you shouldn't be listening to it. Yeah, I would think you had figured that out by now. But let's move on to the videos. Okay, so these first few I saved because I had only seen the first couple of seconds of them, and I'm like, oh, this looks spooky. This looks spooky. Let me save this for my podcast where I just scare myself at night. I'm not home alone, but like it's still nighttime. I still have to fall asleep at some point tonight. Okay, here's the first one. I feel like I need to watch these like away. What's gonna happen? That's not real. That's fake. Ew. That's like a Halloween prop. That's not real. That's not real. Ew. Oh, no. I'm gonna get scared. I need to turn my volume down. Is that real? I mean, that's terrifying. So, someone commented, that's Beyonce. Oh my gosh. Girl run, that's the Babadook. If this is real, I'm actually about to pass away. Only in Appalachia. Let's go back to the Brighton. That's not real. No, that's fake.
We are home alone and see this in the window.
Yeah, and then that's where you proceed to not walk in the door. I would outlive every single one of you in a horror movie. That's where you don't walk inside the door. That would look like a doll head. No, the person at the window is the one that's home alone. Yeah, you're the one that's in the wrong. I claim no negative energy from this video. Well, you ain't home alone anymore. I love, in these videos, people dropping Bible verses in the comments. You're no longer alone. You have a friend. Okay, well, that's the second one. My goodness. I don't quite know what to think of that one. That one's probably a little more believable than this first one was. That first one was literally just their friend dressed up in a scary Halloween costume. Okay, I feel like that one's debunked. That one's not real. It's still scary, but I don't think it's real. Okay, here's the third one.
So this is where I passed out. Excuse my language, because you can see how the cushions are up. So I was sleeping here. I had Phoebe just right here. She was like tucked between my leg and the cushion. I just turned this light on. But also, if you come to my kitchen, okay, I have overhead lights. There are two separate string lights, right? So they're plugged in here. Like, I can't make it up here. They're both plugged in. I can unplug them for you. So you're telling me 2 strands of overhead lights just burn out last night? Because this came back on. This one was already having kind of problems, but I never had problems with this set of string lights. It's flickering. You can see it flickering. So my
when you have 25 appliances plugged in, you're bound to trip a breaker.
And I just hear shuffling all the way from the hallway to the office bedroom over there, back to the hallway.
Shuffling?
Behind me, behind my head. Here, stopped. That's when I was like, what the f***? All the way over to my bedroom. The second I heard it get like here, I jumped off my couch. Phoebe took off. And I'm looking around in the darkness like this.
So Phoebe's like, what?
And there's just a whole lot of nothing. So, good morning, everyone.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty spooky. That's definitely, I mean, I know I'm acting calm right now about it. If that were me, I'd probably be acting way worse. Probably ran out of the house. All right, here's the fourth one.
My daughter's sleeping with me in my bed tonight. She kept saying that she was really scared of something in her room. I'm a little bit shaky. I don't know if you guys can tell, but...
Ew, I feel like this one, I just got like a really bad feeling about this one. Sorry, I'm watching from a distance. Why are you getting up to look? That's a siren? That's a kid's toy? That sounds like a demonic portal. That's not a kid's toy. Even her phone's picking up feedback.
So this is the same toy that used to go off in the past. And it's always terrified me since. So I would ask it questions and it would answer with noises. daughter sleeping with me.
Did I just miss something? Why'd she... Hold on. Did I miss something?
So this is the same toy.
Yeah, because
that
you were
used to
backed
go off
all
in
the way away
past.
from the phone, Emily. Did I miss something? Am I missing something? Yeah, and then you go and investigate. Oh, the hand is moving. Someone just commented the hand is moving.
I would ask it questions and it would answer with noises.
Okay, yep, I see. I understand now. Okay, I see why she panicked. Cause I'm not even in the same room, not even in the same situation as she is, and I'm panicking. Okay, here's another one. From an account called Haunted TikToks. It's gonna be really difficult to fall asleep tonight. Again, Home Alone. Oh. Oh no.
Oh.
Pause. It's like that kid. It's like that kid in the first story we read that was just like, "Is anyone here?" An intruder or a ghost is not going to be like, "Oh man, you got me. My bad. I'll see myself out the door I just evaporated through." It's just the cat. It's just it's just the cat the whole time. You said you were home alone. You lied. Your cat was with you. See, if I'm home alone and I hear scary things, I can just blame it on the 3 cats. All right, let's get a couple of more good ones in here. I'm having a fun time doing this. I think I might just make. I'll probably just make another podcast episode where I'm literally just watching TikToks. Time to move. What is that? Is that a face? What is that? Am I supposed to know what that is? I don't like the sound. Ooh. Huge vultures.
7 p.m.
Ooh. She's just on her way back from the liquor store. Okay, no, we gotta watch this one. We have to watch this one. Every time I'm home alone.
This whole time.
What am I? Ew. Oh. Just a shadow outside your door? The dogs are. See, that's another thing. I so believe dogs and like little kids can sense spiritual presences.
Girl, there ain't nothing back there, I'm telling you. Nothing back there, right? I told you. There's never. Oh my god! 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 Oh my god!
Girl. Even the dogs going back there, there's something wrong. No.
God, whatever's back there, she's growling now.
Ooh. I didn't like. That was spooky. You know what? I'm done trying to find scary ones. Let's end this with a couple of funny ones. Oh. Alright, here's a good one. It's a KitchenAid, but just made me laugh. It's not that funny.
Hey, be careful, it's super slippery out here because of the snow. Riley.
That's so stupid, but it's so funny. Oh, here's a good one I reposted. I believe it was after the inauguration.
Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck
Oh, some fainting goats.
Sorry, buddy.
Ready?
You like throw it off the
You weren't
slide.
supposed to jump.
Oh no. Okay, I'm done watching TikToks. I'm done telling you scary stories. This is exactly what I needed to do this week, was just have a little bit of fun. And, you know, a little bit spooking going on. But thank you for listening, slash watching. I know this has been a little bit more of a chaotic episode, but that's what I need sometimes. So, if you don't already, follow me on the Down Lowe podcast on Facebook and On the Down Lowe pod on Instagram. And if you are watching this on YouTube, check out the Spotify that is under the same handle. So until next time, next episode, we'll go back to the structure, we'll go back to the notes, we'll go back to the self-help topics, and it'll be all about how we perceive our personal intelligence and how that plays into our confidence when it comes to defending our beliefs, and how that plays into our want and our desire to build our generation and to build generational prosperity. But that'll be next episode. And until next time, y'all take care and try to sleep good tonight. See y'all later.